Hi, I wanted to talk briefly about the history class that I'm teaching at Peace Academy this school year. It's going to be a history class from 1453 to the present. It's going to be world history, starting with Europe and then spanning out as Europe, of course, 1492 and forward, began its various colonies and searching out the rest of the world, right? We'll start with Europe, what's going on there, and then as that interacts with Russia, and then also as that interacts with other countries, as countries are forming around the world, like Australia, New Zealand, different places in Oceania, etc. And we will not really focus much on American history. We'll touch briefly on the very important parts of American history, of course, but this class is going to be on more world history and even European history. There's 32 weeks in this class. Of those 32 weeks, there's going to be 4 quarters, so each quarter is 8 weeks long. Now, the first quarter is going to be from the fall of Constantinople till the Spanish Armada. The second quarter is going to be from the Spanish Armada till the Glorious Revolution in England. The third quarter is going to be from the Glorious Revolution in England up until the publishing of Darwin's Origin of the Species. And then the fourth quarter is going to be from the publishing of Darwin's Origin of the Species all the way up to the present day. We're going to be discussing historical events, historical figures, as well as the major philosophies and what do you call all these philosophies, but the major thought that influenced the world from 1453 all the way till now. There will be each week, there will be a list of names, places, events, etc. that the students will go and look up. It's not going to be a long list, but it's going to be major names. And what the students are expected to do is basically go to, if you have a physical encyclopedia, that's great, but go to something like the Encyclopedia Britannica, read the entry regarding that event or that name or whoever is discussed on the list, and then write like a 3 to 5 sentence summary. If it's a person's name, put their birth date and their death date. But beyond that, just kind of summarize the importance of that person in history. That'll be one thing that the students will be assigned to do. Another thing the students will be assigned to do is weekly timeline quizzes. These quizzes will be through Google Forms, and the Google form will grade the quizzes themselves, so they'll get immediate feedback on how they're doing with that. I'm going to give them the timeline, what to memorize each week, and each week they'll just add to what they're memorizing. The quizzes will also be cumulative, though, so they have to remember all the dates from before as well. There will also be quarterly tests. Now, the quarterly tests are going to be asking questions about the timeline, plus the list of names I've given them, plus applying things that they've learned in the lectures as well. So there's going to be 4 tests then, right, quarterly, 1 per quarter. There's also going to be 4 essays, 1 per quarter. And the essays are going to be based off the biographies. Now, it's not a book review or a book report. It's going to be, there's going to be 1 biography per quarter. The first biography will be on William the Silent, the second one on Oliver Cromwell, the third one on William Wilberforce, and the fourth one on Queen Victoria. And the essay is going to basically be explaining the importance that person played in their day. And so the student will be referring to the biography to explain what's going on and why this assignment, for example, is important. These biographies, if you wanted to substitute another one of that time frame, you can ask me about that, and I can maybe let you do that. But the biographies I've chosen are all published prior to 1923, so they're all in the public domain, so there's no cost in buying them. If you want to buy a hard copy, you can, but I'll give you the links to that on a syllabus page on my website for the class. So there's going to be a web page for this class on my website, and on that I'll have the whole syllabus on there. I will also have the links to these 4 biographies. I will also have a link to each of the quizzes that the students will take. They're due each Friday. They could take them earlier if they memorize the timeline sooner. I think that covers all the assignments that will be done. There has been an attempt that I've made to find a good textbook for the sake of this class, so the students could buy the textbook and follow along. And I have not been able to find a textbook that I would recommend the students actually buying. For whatever reason, history textbooks are not very good, or maybe I'm just too picky. I'm not sure. But I will show you what I'm using and referring to, so you understand what I'll be doing. And if you wanted to buy these books, you can, but I'm not going to be assigning these books as reading. There will be readings that the students do based upon important speeches that were given, letters that were written, treaties that were made. So some of those things will be assigned as reading each week. I do not expect that the homework per week will take up more than 2 hours. And if a student is doing things well, I think the homework would probably take closer to 1 hour. So it's not going to be a homework intense class. But that does not mean that the students should goof off and not make sure they keep up with their biographies and reading those and getting the essays written. But it does mean that textbooks are not going to be the thing that I'm assigning as reading. But so you know what I'm using, Spielvogel here has a textbook on Western civilization. This is quite thick and rigorous. If you look at the omnibus textbooks, they often reference Spielvogel. So Spielvogel is an authority, so to speak, on what is the standard that everyone else is trying to keep up with. There also is this book here called Out of Revolution. It's by a guy named Eugene Rosenstock-Huessy. He was a Swiss guy, and he wrote this in between World War I and World War II. This is a history of the last 400, 500 years. And it's not a chronological history, though, right? It's kind of interesting. He starts with Russia and the Russian Revolution, and then he goes to France, and then he goes to England, and he goes to Germany. And he is discussing kind of each of the revolutions that are taking place. And then he has some chapters towards the end that kind of tie together the argument that he is trying to make. But basically what he's saying is we are standing, at least in between World War I and World War II, we were standing in a world that had come out of revolution and viewed revolution as a good thing. And he's kind of arguing against that. There's this other book here by Jacques Barzun called From Dawn to Decadence. He covers the last 500 years. He published this in the year 2000, so he covers from about the year 1500 till the present, so 500 years. And this is chronological, and he goes through a ton of things, tying together philosophy, together with politicians, together with battles and God's providence in history, and it's a good book. It's not a book I recommend students reading, but if you wanted to get a copy of it, I think it's still in print, so that's good. This one is not in print anymore. This is by Greg Singer. He was a professor at Greenville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. He was a professor at many other places before that, and he wrote this book called From Rationalism to Irrationality: The Decline of the Western Mind from the Renaissance to the Present. And he catalogs the philosophy that has led to where we are now. And he wrote this in the late 1900s. Let's see what year it actually got published. Oh, I'm missing that page, actually. Oh well. It's very old, and was published by P&R back in the day. So the worldview of Greg Singer is basically the worldview that I'm going to have. And I'll be coming at it from a very similar perspective. With regards to Jacques Barzun and Eugene Rosenstock-Huessy, I appreciate their insights into things, but their perspective and worldview will be slightly different than mine, mostly because they're not American, and they are both Christian, but Greg Singer is Reformed, like I am, and so he and I are much more on the same page across the board. So that is the assignments, that is the textbooks, that is how the class will be structured over the course of 4 quarters, and that is kind of a basic rundown of what the class is going to look like. So I look forward to teaching that class. I'm going to do an audio recording from each class, and then I'll post that on my website, on the syllabus on my website for the class, so that the students can refer back to that. I also am going to be doing some videos, probably a little bit nicer videos than this. I'll use my computer instead of my phone. But I'm going to do some videos and post those to my YouTube, just kind of talking about different topics in history as we get to them. And yeah, I think that covers everything. So I look forward to teaching this class, look forward to the class starting very shortly, and I hope that everyone enjoys the rest of their summer. I'll talk to you later. Bye.